we do just want to make sure that you do provide all of that information, and that when it's required to have a member's name or anything like that, or a project name, that you do realize that that does have to be filled in. And some items there are where you have to fill in a date and a name, and a date and a project name. There's a requirement to visiting chapters, so you'll have to make sure to include the chapter's name. So it's just, once you see the form, you'll understand it more clearly, but we just want to make sure that you understand that there are some items on the checklist that you do have to provide additional information instead of just a check mark. So to start out with the submissions for 2016, the chapter plan of action is due to me by February 29th. This is for chapters and states. So your initial plan of action is due by 2/29. There you also see the dates for the quarterly chapter plan reviews that will be due to me. And those are April 30th, July 31st, October 31st, and then February 28th of next year. And on February 28th of next year, both fourth quarter and your year-end chapter plan reviews are due. So just mark those dates down on your calendar and make sure that you know when those are coming up so that we get those quarterly plans in. Again, your annual report is due along with your year-end summary, as I mentioned, on February 28th of next year, along with the information on your Active Citizen Framework project. So just keep all of those dates in mind. Obviously, the first big one coming up is on February 29th of this year, and you get an extra day because it's a leap year, so that's exciting. Your chapter plan of action that is due, and you'll see when we start going through the checklist, the items that do need to be included in that. But just a reminder that these submissions that are due on those dates do have to be emailed in. And again, there's my email again to send that in, but they do all have to come to me at the clc@usjcs.org by those deadlines. And late submissions will not be accepted. So you have to make sure you get those into me by those specific dates. Midnight, anytime is fine. Just make sure that you have them in by those dates to me. Here's a couple of other key dates. The first one, there is a deadline of January 31st of this year, and that is to update the membership database with your local chapter president's name and your general membership meeting information. The general membership meeting information may not change, so that's fine. Ideally, you have a new chapter president this year. If not, then that's not going to change either. But you just have to make sure that that information is updated and is current, and that has to be done by January 31st. Again, these are items that are on the honor system, so I'm not going to be going in and checking every single person's chapter information in the database. And you do not need to send that to me by January 31st. You just have to make sure that that is done by January 31st. You also, by January 31st, one of the items on the form is to conduct a board training or orientation. So that is for your chapter or state's new incoming board of directors. You would conduct a training or orientation for them. Many of you have probably already done this if you've already had your year-end or installation banquets. So that might already be done for you. And you've probably already updated the membership database too. So those are two items that you can check off just like that. So those are two items that are due by January 31st. Also due by February 29th is to attend a state or national officer training. Again, if you've already had your banquets or conventions at the beginning of this year, you've probably already done that, or you have it coming up by February 29th. If you've gone to one of the LTUs, the Leadership Training Universities, then you might have already gotten it done there as well. So that is due by February 29th. And then by April 30th, we're asking, as one of the items on the checklist, is to meet with a government official. That can be the chapter or, again, the state level, and that's to discuss anything from how the JCs can impact the community, anything that you can help with, maybe with other organizations in town, talking about Nothing But Nets and supporting those initiatives. So we are just one more item on the checklist that we're asking to complete is by April 30th is to meet with a government official. Again, these are items that are on the honor system, so you don't have to submit anything to me for these. but you do just have to make sure that if you get them done, you check them off on your checklist. So just for those of you who might not be aware for where you can find the forms for the Civic Leadership Certification, you can find those in the USJC's documents library. I put the website up at the top of this slide for you. And in the box there is where all the documents are. If you have people who were working on your certification for last year for your chapter or state, that's where these documents are. And then you'll see the ones marked for 2016 are those for this year. There is the 2016 local CLC, which is the form to be used for local chapters. There's the 2016 new local CLC, which is for new chapters. Those, the only difference between the chapter form and the new chapter form is the new chapter form doesn't have specific dates on it because depending on when the new chapter is formed, but we can always work that out. But that is the chapter for the form for the new chapters. And then we have the 2016 state CLC, which is the form to be used for state organizations. There are also samples on there of a chapter's annual report, which could be useful for you at the end when you're submitting for next February. And then there's also the chapter plan first quarter, which could be helpful for you to use as a sample or as a guide for what's due February 9th to me this year. There also is a CLC guide and overview for 2016, which kind of just goes through the program, what we're looking for, how it can benefit you and your members, your community, your chapters, your state. So I encourage you to download that guide and overview as well, just to look through and you can really see everything that goes into the certification and all of that. So that is where you will find all of your forms for the Civic Leadership Certification program. As well as a whole bunch of other forms that you can use for other projects and areas as well. So included in the form for the certification is a part where we're encouraging you to do a demographic survey of your membership. Now, there's a few reasons why this is important. It's obviously going to help you to know who your members are. It's going to help you to see what age range your members are. There are categories on the form that you have to check off the percentage of your membership that is in one age bracket as opposed to another. So doing the survey will help you to see if maybe you have a lot of members that are getting close to aging out, but you need to focus your membership more on the younger age bracket. It's also going to help you, just figure out which projects might be the most effective for you to run, if you need to be having more membership socials, if you need to run more family-oriented projects so that you get more families involved in the chapter. It's just a good way for you to find out, who exactly is in your chapter, where they're coming from, and how your chapter can best serve them. Ways that you can do this are looking through the membership database, the USJC's membership database. That will give you a lot of good information, and as well as membership surveys. Just pass those out at your local meetings, projects that you might have, and just have members fill it out, give some information to you that will help you to analyze the chapter. You can also do it on the state level, and it's just going to help really tell you who's in your chapter and in your state and really where the focus should be maybe for your upcoming projects and focus for membership. So this is the first page of the chapter form. So we're going to go through this kind of step by step. It's not going to take a long time, but just so that you can see exactly what it is that we need you to do in order. And this is if you check everything off on here to attain 100% efficiency. So obviously at the beginning of the form, you would fill out your basic chapter information with your chapter name, the state that you're from. That's the area for the demographics that I was talking about, where you would specify the percentages in the age ranges of your chapter, this is the chapter form. So if you would see your focus is on 24 to 29, then you have a younger demographic, as opposed to if it's 36 to 39 and you might have a lot of members that are going to be aging out within the next few years, you want to focus on getting more in those lower age brackets. There's also a section for gender for you to determine the percentage of male and female in your chapter, marital status, children, and that can be focused on how many families with children that you have active in your chapter, as well as your membership tenure. If you have a lot of members that are, 7+ years, you would put that percentage in there. And a lot of this information like that you can get from the membership database. But we do encourage you to do the surveys as well so that you can gather additional information. So the part where we would start checking off the items as you complete them is, as we mentioned, to update. The first thing is to update the membership database with your 2016 chapter president's name and general membership meeting information by January 31st. That's one of those that once you've done it, you can check it off. If you want to add in the date that you did it to keep track of it on your end, obviously feel free, but you can just check that off as soon as you get that done. So the next thing on the list is to submit your chapter plan of action, which we discussed, by February 29th. And there are the items listed that need to be included in the chapter plan of action. So what's included in this is obviously the plan of action, which includes your chapter's goals, strengths, weaknesses, potential problems, and solutions. Your member survey, budget for the year, proposed budget for the year, your membership plan, which if you look in the sample plan of action that I mentioned that's in the JCI library, there is a chart in there that's really helpful for you, and it helps you to see, okay, so in this month we're losing this many members due to aging out or whatever, so this is how many that we need to replace it, and it really gives you a good way to gauge your membership throughout the year, what months you really need to step up the recruiting, though obviously we're doing that every month, but it's a good way just to help you gauge it all out and figure out the best way for your chapter. If you know that you have a big project coming up one month, then you know that you could recruit a ton more that month over another one. It's a way for you to really plan out your membership for the year and make sure that you end your year at growth. We also ask you to include a calendar of events, and this is all proposed calendar of events. Obviously, we know that things change, but what you have planned out tentatively for the year, as well as an organizational chart, which is your leadership, your VPs, program managers, all that fun stuff. So that is the chapter plan of action. That is what needs to be emailed to me by February 29th. Some other items that don't have a specific date tied to them, but we usually recommend that you get them done in the beginning of the year just so that they're done and out of the way, is to update and renew your chapter's liability insurance, as well as the incorporation for your chapter, and to revise your constitution, bylaws, and policies. So again, all of those done on the honor system. You don't have to email me when those are completed. You can just check those off on your form once that they have been done. We also have on there to file your 990 form, which is basically your annual reporting return that provides information on the organization's or your chapter's mission, program, and finances. So that should be filed each year. So that can be just checked off as well once that's completed. One of the items that we'd already mentioned that's due by January 31st is to conduct a training or orientation for your board of directors. Again, many of you may have already done that. So once it's done, check it off and you're good with that. And then by February 29th to attend a state or national officer training. And this can be in person or via webinar. So if you're on the webinar tonight, you can check that off because that is done. Going over to the right into the second column, these are other items that are done on the honor system that you can just check off at the end of the year, that you've had a monthly general membership meeting for your chapter each month, as well as monthly board meetings for your chapter's board of directors. As I mentioned before, we're asking that you meet with a government official, either on the local, state, or federal level by April 30th. And this is one of those that we do require that you include the name and title of the official that you met with. So you don't have to email me when this has been completed, but on the form, when you do send it in for your quarterly reviews, we will require that you include the name and title of the official that you met with. For the next thing is to conduct at least one active citizen framework project. And this needs to include community needs analysis that should be conducted to create a plan based on the community's needs, to collaborate with partners, measure results, and evaluate and report. With this item, we do require that you submit a PMG with that, which is a project management guide. You can find a blank project management guide in the JCI USA documents library under the project management guides category. So for this one, we do require that you submit the PMG with the project that you've completed. You can find more information as well on the Active Citizen Framework in the documents library. There's a guide and an info sheet as well as a flow chart to help you run that project and show you what should be done and how to run it effectively. The next thing is to conduct quarterly chapter plan reviews and submit as follows, which is what we went through. So for each of those quarters, first, second, third, fourth, and year end, you will email to me your chapter plan reviews. And the next thing is to provide written communication to members at least monthly, and this can be via newsletter, email. Once you've done that monthly, you can check that off at the end of the year, as well as if you've established and maintained a chapter website or a Facebook page, you can check that off. We do require that you include the URL of the website or the Facebook page that's been maintained throughout the month on the form. So when you do submit this for that one section, please make sure that you include the URL for the website or the Facebook page that you've kept updated all year. The next item is to conduct at least 4 new member orientations. So when these have been done throughout the year, you will include, you'll see the numbers on the right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We do ask that you include the 4 dates of each orientation when it was held. The next item is to hold 1 passport to civic leadership training, which is, I'm sure we're all familiar with, but if not, that's designed to, it helps to immerse new members into the organization, and it also helps veteran JCs grow and develop even more. It's done on a degree basis, and you can find all more information on the Passport to Civic Leadership program on the JC website, as well as there'll be upcoming webinars for that as well. But we do ask that you hold 1 training for that, and once that's been done, just check that off. The next item is to conduct visitations to at least 2 other chapters. You'll see on the column, on the right-hand column, there's a 1 and a 2. We're asking you to include the dates that you visited each chapter and the specific chapter that you visited. So when you submit this form, make sure that you've included over there the date of the visit and the chapter that you went and saw and helped out with. The next item is to have at least 1 member attend JCI Impact, Achieve, or Admin. And once that they've done this, we need you to include the name of the person that attended and the date and the course that they did it. Next is to attend at least 2 state, district, or regional events. And again, this is another one that it has a 1 and a 2 in the right-hand column. So that means that we're asking you to list the event and the date that each of these were attended. So when you submit the form, just make sure that any of those that have numbers in the right-hand column there, or that they ask for specific information, just make sure that those are filled out so when they're submitted. So on the next page, we will see another requirement is to conduct at least 1 project in each area of opportunity. So for each of these in the business, individual, community, and international areas, we're asking that once they are completed, you list the project name that was held in that area as well as the date that it was completed. The next is to participate in at least 2 of the following USJC JCI programs, and those would be Shoot for 30, Nothing But Nets, Twinning, 10 Outstanding Young Americans or Persons, Junior Chamber Youth, Adopt a School Day, or your state's priority project or program, and you will have to include, if you choose that option, the name of that program. Ideally, we're hoping that you'll participate in each of those given the opportunity, but we do ask that you participate in at least 2 as part of the Civic Leadership Certification program in order to get credit. So once you've completed those, you can just put a nice check mark next to those. The next item is to have at least 2 of your members participate in competitions at the local, district, regional, state, national, or international level. For those members that do participate, and this can be write up, speak up, any of the competitions at those levels, we ask that you list the member who participated and the date of the competition. So just make sure that that's filled in when you fill out the form. Next is to complete one of the following. We're asking that you have at least 1 member participate in at least one of the JCI events listed there. For the person that does attend, you will have to include their name, and these include leadership training universities, which there were 2 held already. There are 3 more upcoming in Atlanta, Omaha, and St. Louis. So if one of your members is attending those, then you can count that. You can also have include a member who attends the National Spring Meeting or the Cozumel Cruise coming up in April, the annual meeting in Detroit coming up in September, the JCI USA National Summit that's coming up in Washington, D.C. in June, or World Congress that is coming up in October in Quebec. So if you have a member who participates in at least one of those, we just need you to fill in their name there of who's attended. If you don't have a member attend one of those, the other option is to have any 3 members attend at least one USJC webinar per quarter. Again, this is the type of thing that obviously we're hoping that more than one of your members will attend one of these events or anything like that. But for the certification, we just need to have the name of one member who does participate in at least one of these events, or have 3 members attend at least one webinar per quarter. If you do have the 3 members attend the webinar per quarter, you just have to make sure in the right-hand column there that you list their names as well. The next item on the list is to achieve year-to-date growth. So we would need you for this one to list your January 1st base number, the number of members that your chapter started with, and then your December 31st base number, the number of members your chapter is ending with. And then finally, to submit your annual report by February 28th of next year. The following items need to be included in this. And again, each of these has to be included in order for it to count. And that includes the summary and evaluation letter from your chapter president, your chapter plan with the reports of your actual results versus the goals you had at the beginning of the year, the actual problems and solutions that you encountered throughout the year, your revised strengths and weaknesses, your recommendations for the future, a final budget, and a final membership plan. So basically, you're going to be going back to your quarterly reviews throughout the year, your initial plan of action, and you're going to just see how everything has changed, or hopefully you stayed on task and accomplished your goals, and your year-end annual report is going to be submitted on February 28th, and it's going to include all of this information. And so that's the form. Easy breezy. So this next form that we're going to, this is the state form. So for your state, and we do have our initial goal for our February 29th deadline is that every state will submit, and that we will have at least 2 to 3 chapters from each state submit by the February 29th deadline. So we do encourage you, if you are on the webinar and you're from the state level, we do encourage that you ask all your chapters to participate. And we also want to make sure that all of our states are involved. So that's our initial goal by February 29th, is to have every state submit for the Civic Leadership Certification Program. So on the state form, it's a little bit shorter than the chapter one. I'm not going to go through everything specifically on this one because a lot of it is pretty much the same. The only things that I want to point out are, again, if anything requires specific projects or names, make sure that you include those. On the state form in the right-hand column, you'll also see that it has to hold at least 2 state meetings, conventions, or conferences. So that's obviously a different requirement than from the chapter. It's also asking that you attend a USJC Board of Directors meeting, that you conduct trainings for your local officers as well as your board of directors, which is all things that we do anyway. So it's mainly just checking those, getting those done and checking those off. In the right-hand column, you will also see that we ask for states to offer at least one JCI official or recommended training course. You can see all the options that are listed there: impact, achieve, admin, presenter, any of those. You can have a trainer come in and do those on your state level. A lot of times we'll coordinate that with a quarterly state convention. So that's definitely something to consider. When you do hold these, we are just asking that you list the training that was hosted as well as the date. Looking further down that form, same thing, we're asking you to participate or promote at least 2 of the USJC JCI programs, as well as hold competitions at the state, district, and region meetings. Again, for those, we want to make sure you list the dates and the competitions that were held. We want you to promote the USJC webinars to your members because they really are beneficial to all the members in the state and chapter organizations. Achieve year-to-date growth, which is a given. And then finally, to submit your annual report by 2/28/17, including all those same things that were listed on the chapter form. So the state form is a little bit shorter, but we are asking that states do participate and fill these out, and that we get you all at 100% efficiency as well. So those are the forms. Those are the basic logistics of the program and how to achieve 100% efficiency. I did include here the names of all the national program managers because there are several things included on the forms that we ask you to participate in, like Shoot for Success or Passport to Civic Leadership, anything like that. So I did want to include these so you know who to contact for those specific areas if you want to get involved or if you have more specific questions for them about those programs and how to get your chapter and state involved. So for each of the areas, those are your program manager contacts, as well as their email addresses. And this is included on the USJC website. And you can always contact your NVPs to get that information as well. So that is basically the Civic Leadership Certification Program and everything that it entails. We really are, again, encouraging all chapters and states to get on board. I know that it can look a little intimidating at first, but really, like I mentioned, it's all things that our chapters and states are already doing. It's just checking them off on the checklists just to make sure that we're getting everything done and that we're all well-rounded and really offering our members every opportunity possible to grow and develop both personally and professionally. So I will open it up. If anybody has any questions, you can type in the little questions box there that you should have on your screen. So if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know now if you have any of those, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right. So we have a question here. With new member orientation being sent out to each new member now in an automated process, can we verify with each new member that they watch the new member orientation count toward our goal in CLC, or must we conduct 4 separate new member orientations? We are asking that you do hold. The question was if new members can just watch the new member orientation video and if that will count towards the new member orientation goal of having 4 held throughout the year. We are encouraging and asking chapters to hold 4 separate individual new member orientation programs, just so this way, if they have questions or just so that you can get them all in the room together, you can have veteran JCs there to help them out, answer any questions that they have. I will double check on that, but I do believe that it is holding 4 separate individual new member orientations throughout the year, whether they be quarterly or if you recruit a ton of new members at a project in July and you don't want them to wait until the end of the quarter and you hold one then. But I do believe that we are asking that you hold 4 distinct separate new member orientations. You're welcome. So does anybody else have any questions before we conclude for the evening? I don't see any more popping up. So thank you so much for everyone who attended. I look forward to working with you all throughout the year. And again, I hope that you all will stay actively involved in the program. It will be exciting. And our first deadline again is coming up to submit February 29th, your initial plan of action. So you have some time to be getting that together if you haven't already. So I look forward to getting all of your submissions. And again, if you ever have any questions at any time, please feel free to email me. You'll be hearing from me a lot throughout the year. But I'm excited to work with you all. And again, feel free anytime if you have any questions. That's my email and my phone number. And I will be happy to talk with you about the program at any point. And I look forward to a great, effective year together and having the healthiest chapters and states that we possibly can. So have a great night, everybody. And again, thank you for attending. And we will be in touch soon. Thank you.